Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Bella and I am passionate about all things design and DIY. Today I wanted to talk about how to incorporate beauty into every aspect of your home so that you can really start to learn to appreciate your space and to love the house that you're in. I feel like I couldn't make this video without addressing the fact that having a roof over your head is a privilege, and having a roof over your head where you feel safe is even more of a privilege. And I know there are so many reasons why you might not want to put time and effort into making your home a space that you really love. Finances can hold us back. Temporary living situations can make us feel less invested in the space that we're in. Sometimes our homes can be places where trauma took place, so we don't really want to emotionally connect ourselves to this space. Or maybe your mental or physical health is suffering, and so you really aren't capable of making big changes. The obstacles are really endless. I know this is kind of a serious way to start this video, but I didn't want the tone of the video to be that if you just open your window and turn on a diffuser, all of your problems will just magically go away, because obviously it isn't that simple. I want the takeaway above all else to be that no matter who you are, you deserve to have beauty in every aspect of your home. As I mentioned in a previous video, whether you own a huge house, a tiny apartment, a room in someone's house, a piece of furniture in a room, whatever it is, you deserve to love whatever it is that belongs to you. And I think that a lot of people are very quick to dismiss beauty and the role it plays in our lives, but everything, every day that we see, we hear, we smell, we feel, all of these things can really hugely impact our well-being. So all of these tips might not exactly apply to your living situation, but I want to try to meet you wherever you are and hopefully inspire you to start to create that space where you feel comfortable and that you really feel like is a reflection of who you are on the inside. Okay, the first step is a little bit of a bummer. If your space is starting to feel a little bit stale and boring and you're getting that urge to redecorate, I want you to stop right there, and before you make any big changes, I want you to clean and declutter. I am 100% guilty of not keeping up with cleaning and organizing my space, so this is a very, very safe space for anyone just like me, completely judgment-free. The thing about cleaning in these instances is almost every time I'm done cleaning a space, I don't feel like I have to make as many dramatic changes to the way that it looks. On a deeper level, keeping a clean and organized space, whatever that means to you, it's different for everybody obviously, is a way to show gratitude to your home and to kind of affirm to yourself that I deserve to live in a clean, organized space. I really love to go down the self-punishment road, and one thing that is a huge obstacle for me when it comes to cleaning is convincing myself that I could be spending my time doing something more valuable. Almost every time I clean, I have to remind myself that I don't need to feel guilty, I'm doing my future self a favor, and that it's not a selfish act. So if this is you and you're at a place where cleaning or decluttering just sounds way too overwhelming, there's a few baby steps that we can take in order to get you to the place where you need to be. And it's not gonna be an overnight transformation, but these are just a few tips that I've found to be very helpful personally. I love setting timers. Just the other day, my sewing studio was getting a little bit out of control and I had 2 spare hours in my day. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna clean for 2 hours straight, and then I have a very clear end in sight and I can walk away without feeling guilty when the 2 hours is up. I ended up getting so much more work done than I thought I could in just half that time, because I knew that I had a clear end in sight where I could just walk away and give myself permission to forget about it until the next day if need be. When cleaning feels to me like there's no end in sight and I just go for hours and hours until I can't anymore, I find that I lose a lot of speed and motivation. So setting a timer is really helpful for me personally, because the end that's in sight, where I've given myself permission to not feel guilty, helps me to work way more efficiently. Another thing that I've found helpful when it comes to putting things away is counting them. So at the beginning of this 2-hour timer, I'm standing in a room full of things where nothing is where it's supposed to be. So if you're feeling like you have absolutely nowhere to start by putting away 20 things. It can be whatever number you want it to be. I find that 20 things goes by so quickly, and you're gonna accumulate them much faster than you think you will. They can be big things, they can be small things, you can sort them into different categories, however you want to lay this out. But since every item counts for one number, I find this to be really helpful in my brain because it says that everything I put away has equal value. So even if you put away 20 small things and it doesn't actually make that much of a difference in the overall room and the mess itself, 20 things is still 20 things. If you start to do this once a day or as often as you can remember to do it, it starts to reinforce this habit in your mind that makes big cleaning jobs not feel as daunting. And then last, and maybe the most helpful tip for me, is to buy cleaning products that I love and I'm really excited to use. My favorite cleaner is by Attitude. It's a thyme and lavender scented all-purpose cleaner. It's natural. I love the smell of it. I also have a roll of reusable bamboo towels. Both of these things together cost a total of $10, and they've made such a difference in my cleaning routine. I love dusting now. I never thought that I could be the kind of person that would be excited to dust things, but I swear getting the right products that you can use easily and be excited about makes all the difference. I think when we think of our homes and what our ideal space feels like, we tend to think of visuals first. But I think a really great way to start kind of romanticizing your home and finding beauty in it is to appeal to your other senses. For me, fragrance is huge. I'm so sensitive to smells, and I absolutely love fragrance. So having good scents in my space is non-negotiable. Candles, room sprays, diffusers, these are all amazing things that I use every day. If you're on a budget and you're in the market for a diffuser, I see them at the thrift store and on Marketplace all the time. And I think it's one of those things that a lot of people get for gifts or buy themselves thinking that they'll use them, and they just never really get around to it. So even ask around. I bet someone you know is looking to get rid of theirs. Another thing I'm really sensitive to is textures. So I obsess over my bedding, making sure it's exactly the way I want it to feel. For me, this means everything is 100% cotton, specifically the kind of cotton that's really crunchy and makes a lot of noise when you move. My absolute favorite bedding is Ralph Lauren. I do not have a Ralph Lauren bedding budget. It's very expensive, but it is something that I find at the thrift store all the time. And the obsession has gotten to the point where I can now tell if a sheet is Ralph Lauren just by feeling it before I even look at the tag. And I don't know if that's embarrassing or not. What you hear in your space is also really important. I'm the kind of person that I don't really like silence that much, so if I don't have videos playing in the background or podcasts, then I like to always have music on. So if you're also like this, if music is a value to you, then make sure you have an enjoyable, convenient way for you to play music. So if you're a Bluetooth speaker person, a record player, radio, whatever it might be, doesn't matter as long as it appeals to you and makes your music listening process more enjoyable. And of course, this could mean silence for you. It could mean maybe meditation music. If you want more of that like spa, just zen sort of feel, whatever it means for you, just don't neglect the sound. I think that one of the best ways to make our homes feel more comfortable and beautiful is to add some greenery. I think it's just natural for greenery to just lift our spirit. For me, taking care of my plants is similar to cleaning in that it really helps me feel more connected to my space because I'm paying attention to my surroundings, aka what do my plants need, which just helps me to slow down and show gratitude for what's around me. I think that the watering process is so important. And the only way that I can really remember to take care of my plants is if I absolutely love the process of watering them. So I have this beautiful ceramic watering can that my sister got me for Christmas, which I love using. I also have this antique enamel scoop that I use with this copper pot where I store gray water from my sink that would have otherwise been wasted. Whatever this process looks like for you, just make sure that it doesn't mean that you're taking every single plant individually to the sink and watering it there, because I just think that's so high maintenance. And a process that's high maintenance is not going to incentivize you to want to take care of your plants. If you still don't feel like you have the confidence or time or energy to keep plants alive, there are some houseplants that are almost impossible to kill. So do your research and figure out something that will work for you. Cut flowers are also such a great mood booster. I'm a florist, so I'm really lucky that I have access to flowers all year round. But to me, nothing beats a bouquet of fresh cut wildflowers. If having a bouquet of flowers isn't in your budget all year round, which I understand flowers are expensive, then try to think of what's right outside your door season to season. Even some fresh greenery cut from a bush you have in your backyard can make a space feel more alive, or even just 1 or 2 little blooms in a vase on your bathroom sink. It doesn't have to be a huge lavish expense, but just putting in a little bit of extra effort to bring some fresh elements in can make a really big difference for free. Another really fun way to add some greenery into your kitchen is to put out some of the greens and herbs that you're going to be cooking with and display them on your counter like a fresh cut bouquet. Things like kale or parsley or green onions, all of these things look so charming in a little antique crystal glass sitting on your counter waiting to be used. It's going to inspire you to cook and make sure that you don't forget about them in the back of your fridge. Lighting is another really accessible way to transform your space. A lot of times when people I know ask me for advice in rooms they have that are causing them a little bit of trouble, the first thing that my eye always goes to is the lighting. Not the light fixtures themselves, but the actual bulb wattage and temperature of the light. I love really low, warm lighting. Nothing bothers me more than when you go into a space and you can tell everything's been very well thought out, it's comfortable, it's designed well, but we're looking at everything under fluorescent level lighting. I would rather take a lot of time out of my day running around turning on lamps rather than having overhead lighting. I truly believe that the right lighting can make any space feel at least a little bit more comfortable and cozy. In my bedroom, I have 2 wall sconces on either side of my bed, and I love these because they shine light up and down, so the light is being casted on the wall as opposed to the middle of the room. I also have a salt lamp on my bedside table, which provides a really nice warm tone of light, and I also have these colorful Christmas lights, which I love because even though they are a little bit tacky, they give the room a really nice pink hue at nighttime, and I love that look. So it's completely personal preference. Whatever lighting you're drawn to, figure out a combination that works for your space, and I guarantee you it'll make a huge difference. I want to talk about paint alternatives for a few reasons. You might be renting and not allowed to paint at all, or maybe you can't use bold colors. You might be living with your parents or in somebody else's home and they don't want you to change the color of your room. Also, good paint can get kind of expensive. I think that if you can work it into your budget, it can be worth it because it does make such a difference and you can really make it last as long as you need it to. But I totally get that the upfront cost sometimes just isn't doable. So let's talk about potential alternatives. Textile is my absolute favorite thing to incorporate into a space. Now I will say textile can be as cheap or as expensive as you make it. I get a lot of my fabric, especially when it's for interiors, because I find I need more of it. I get most of that on sale at fabric stores or at the thrift store. Curtains make a huge difference in a space, but there's a few things to keep in mind that are going to keep your curtains from looking cheap without actually having to spend a lot of money. The curtains that you can buy ready-made that are in a more budget-friendly price bracket are a lot of times only made so that they go a little bit above and a little bit below the standard window size. A lot of times I see people buying curtains because they think they're gonna make a huge difference in kind of a dull space, and then end up putting them up and it's like nothing happened. So if this is you, then these are a few mistakes that you may have made. The most common thing I see people doing is installing the curtain rod either directly on the window frame or just above it. To make the most impact and to make the room look taller, you want to try to hang your curtain rods as high as you possibly can. So I have 9-foot ceilings and my curtain rods are sitting about 5 inches from the ceiling, which puts them about like maybe 18 inches from where the window trim actually ends. The next thing you want to look out for is the length of the curtain rod you're using. Make sure that it's able to extend a few inches out from either side of the window trim. Not the actual window itself, but the trim on the outside of the window. This is going to allow you to get the maximum amount of light and air in your space because the curtains won't be covering as much of the actual window, but it's also going to give you the illusion that your window is bigger than it actually is. The final step to ensuring that your curtains are going to be making the biggest impact possible is to make sure they're going as far down to the floor as possible or to the floor. Pay very close attention to the curtain lengths when you're shopping. Measure your ceiling, measure your window, keep those measurements with you, and make sure you're finding the longest length possible. There's so many reasons why I love making my own curtains, and if this sounds really daunting to you, trust me, it's only as complicated as you want to make it. You don't even have to know how to sew. I've done curtains where every step is properly done. I have all the panels, all the blind hems, my fabric is pre-washed, everything is perfectly pressed at the end. And I've also made curtains where I just take a pair of pinking shears to a bolt of fabric, cut it, and make a channel with some safety pins for the curtain rod. Trust me, any of it is going to make an impact as long as you have the length. It's not like Architectural Digest is coming in to photograph your home. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to give you a little bit of a lift. Making your own curtains also opens you up to so many fabric choices. If you're not on a budget, then your options are really endless, but if you are, it just takes a little bit of effort kind of looking around, finding the cheapest prices, shopping for sales, looking at thrift stores, things like that. But anytime I've ever made curtains, it's always ended up being less than it would if I bought something equivalent. In my bedroom right now, I have 3 windows and they're big windows. I'm really lucky to have that much natural light coming into my space and I'm so grateful for that, but it does mean that curtains are very expensive. I could not possibly have the curtains that I do if I didn't make them myself. This would cost hundreds of dollars and I just don't have that kind of budget for curtains. And these are made out of drapery that I thrifted. I got an entire bolt for $20. $20 compared to almost $1,000. Another thing that's great about curtains is that you don't actually just have to use them on windows. If your bedroom is feeling a little bit lackluster, you can hang a curtain up on the wall behind your bed and just have it hanging over each side a little bit, and it's going to give you an instant hotel vibe. Or they're great for using as room dividers, or if you want to cover something up. I did this in my bathroom recently because my shower was really keeping it from having the overall look that I wanted in the room. So I just hung a curtain that I thrifted from the ceiling with a few little screw-in hooks, and it completely transformed the room, and the whole project overall cost me less than $20. This leads me perfectly into my next tip, which is to take stock of everything in your space that you can't move or you can't replace, and decide whether you want to highlight those things or try to disguise them. For example, my shower wasn't going anywhere, so the curtain helped me to disguise it just to make sure that it wasn't the focal point of the room. Maybe you have a piece of furniture that you just don't love, but it serves a function and you can't afford to replace it. Maybe it could use a coat of paint and some new hardware. If you've never refinished a piece of furniture, you'd be shocked at what a coat of paint can do to even the ugliest pieces. Another problem that I notice in a lot of people's spaces is that sentimental pieces can hold them back. So if you have a piece of furniture that's been in your family or is sentimental to you for whatever reason, but it's just not your style, there's no shame in giving it a facelift. You can update it, paint it, do whatever you want to it to make it suit your style more so that you can appreciate it the way that you really want to. If you're looking to invest a little bit of money into your space, but maybe you're renting so you can't renovate where you are, or maybe you aren't staying where you currently are for a very long time, maybe you live in your parents' house and you're saving to move out, my biggest tip would be to invest in furniture and accents that you absolutely love. These are always going to be portable and you can transfer them to any space that you live in. And even more fun, within your home, you can move them from room to room and mix and match different combinations. If you build up a nice collection of pieces that you love over time, then the way that you can arrange your house really can have endless options. Moving your furniture around can feel like shopping and creating a completely new space without having to spend a penny. I think that overall, the key to learning to love your home, whatever your current circumstances, is to be patient with yourself. Everybody has a relationship with the space we live in. And I think for a lot of people, it's a lot deeper than it just appears on surface level. So be kind to yourself, be patient when you're trying to get to the root of why you feel the way you do about your home. I think that shame, guilt, self-punishment are all really common themes when it comes to people's homes, whether those feelings are fleeting or really persistent. So it might be a long road to feeling like you deserve to love the space that you live in. If this is the case, that's okay. There is absolutely no timeline on your happiness. One of the most important things to me when it comes to overcoming these feelings is to hugely celebrate your baby steps. Even if it doesn't feel like you can tell anybody because they just wouldn't understand how monumental it was that you just cleaned off your bedside table that's been overflowing for months, and you washed the dirty dishes, you dusted underneath everything, put a fresh bouquet of flowers out, and lit a candle. This might be so regular to some people, but for you, it might feel like a huge win. So even if it's just with yourself, celebrate it. I know it's so cheesy, but literally look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself how proud you are of you. Even if you feel so stupid celebrating cleaning off a bedside table, do it anyways. Celebrating these wins, no matter how big or how small they are, is so important. That is it for me today. I hope that this video gave you some inspiration to find beauty in the space that you're in. If you found it at all helpful, you can give it a like down below. That really helps me learn what kind of content you like seeing from me. If you haven't already, you can also subscribe so that you know every time I upload here. And I will see you back here next time.